In this week's Fastest 4 Minutes in Finance, an all-time high for the S&P 500 and the history that tells us it could go higher from here. Hello, I'm Scott Inman. Thanks for checking us out this week. It seems logical in our minds, right? If the stock market is hitting all-time highs, it could mean a crash is right around the corner. Our minds tell us that things aren't perfect, so why would the market be racing toward an all-time high? Surely something is not right. But in fact, the data says otherwise. The S&P 500 index closed at an all-time high on Friday, January 19th. It was the first new record set in more than 2 years. The previous high was set on January 3rd, 2022. That was the longest period without a new high since the 2008 financial crisis, according to Yahoo Finance. That was an even longer recovery. The index peaked in October 2007, and it was another 5 years before it was surpassed. But Ryan Dietrich at Carson Group reminds us 2 years is not a long losing streak. He says the index went nearly 8 years without a new record in the 1970s and more than 7 years after the tech bubble burst in the early 2000s. So let's take a look at what the index has historically done after making its first all-time high in at least a year. This is a chart from Yahoo Finance showing us 14 occurrences in which the S&P 500 hit the first all-time high in at least a year. You can see the average returns 2 weeks later, 1 month later, 3 months later, 6 months later, and 1 year later. Let's focus on the 1 year column. You can see the average return is nearly 14% higher 1 year after the new record, and the index was higher 93% of the time. That's 13 out of 14 times. So let's compare that to a second chart. This one is also from Yahoo Finance, and it shows us the returns following any new high set by the S&P 500. Again, let's look at the far right column showing the 1 year returns. Still pretty good, 8.75%, but much less than if it had been a longer period of time between new highs. It's also higher just 73% of the time compared to 93%. Finally, to further drive home the point that an all-time high is not automatically cause for concern, setting all-time highs is just what the stock market does. It really isn't even all that special. Again, according to Dietrich, since 1957, the S&P 500 index has set 1,186 record highs. However, they are very concentrated when they occur. By that, he means they happen in clusters. The index set 281 new highs between 1958 and 1968, 513 between 1980 and 2000, and 348 new highs from 2013 until now. In fact, 96.4% of all of the new highs happened during those 3 time frames. Even more, Dietrich says 7% of all trading days since 1957 have produced an all-time high. That's a new record on average every 14 trading days. That tells us that when a new high drought is over, a long new high run could be beginning. Thanks for listening. Want to become smarter financially in 4 minutes or less? Sign up at fastest4.com to get insights and updates like this delivered to your inbox weekly.